4 buttons and a dream. Sirlin Games had the brilliant idea to create a simple execution fighting game. Developed over 2 years, this game is a thing of wonder, showing that with the simplest tools, you can see the brilliance of 2D fighters. With a unique 10-character roster, Sirlin Games has created a stepping stone into other fighting games, but also a game all its own. This is Subpar Reviews. Let's start with the roster. There's different categories of characters. There's the Rushdown, the Grappler, the Wildcards, and the Zoners. They all have their own different playstyles, but are still simple enough for you to pick up and learn any character in the game if you would like to, or even teach a friend. If there's ever a character giving you any amount of trouble learning, you can just go over to the Learn menu and see any guide that you want. Let's talk a little bit about the combat features of this game. There's throws, there's no high-low mix-ups. That's a low, that's blocked standing, it doesn't matter. Everything is really uniform. It makes the game simple for people to pick up and understand. Meter is built up over time, and there's 2 ways to use it. You can use it on the ground with your ground super, or in the air with your air super. And every character is different. Check the guides to learn, of course. There's 2 types of throws. There's normal throws and special throws. Normal throws can't be jumped out of, and can only be teched with the unique feature known as the Yomi counter. It is done by doing nothing, and then instead of throwing, you get thrown. And your opponent gets an entire stick of meter for the exchange. Now that sounds a little overpowered, but bright side, your meter regains over time. You don't have to worry about your opponent constantly getting meter and meter and meter, unless you're throwing them and you're making it too obvious. This game has a unique feature for counter hits. Whenever you land a counter hit, your opponent glows red, making it really easy to understand that you've gotten a counter hit. It also has it up in the top corner, so you can see it. On block, it shows you what type of hit advantage you have. In training, it's also in the top corner, so it's fine. But when you're not in training and you're in match, you can see what move your opponent does if it's plus or minus by 4 hit sparks. There's a big blue hit spark, like with this jump kick right here, which shows that you're extremely plus. There's this small blue hit spark that shows you're slightly plus. Still your turn, but not an extreme frame advantage. There's a small one and a big one. Sorry about that. That shows if you're extremely punishable or only slightly minus. Throws are 3 frames. So that means if anything is ever -3, you can throw them without them being able to Yomi count it. Only the normal throws though. Special throws have their own frame data. This game has traditional online with casual play of 1 character that you get to choose. And you rank each character up individually. More akin to like Tekken and Soul Calibur now. There's ranked, which is a different feature. You have to pick a team of 3 characters. This stops people from counter-picking you in ranked constantly and having bad matchups all the time. It's a little bit of a roll the dice feel, but it feels good to know that you outskilled your opponent most of the time. Then there's also friend matches. Friend matches are one-touch features that lets you see any player you've recently played against, and also your friends and friend requests. You can watch or challenge any friend with only 1 click. And luckily, this game is going to be cross-platform between PC and PS4 and PC and Switch. Sorry, Sony didn't want to play nice for the licensing with Nintendo. Single-player modes aren't too robust, but they're fine. They get the job done. You have your standard arcade mode. It includes story intros and endings. Then you have challenge modes, survival with different types of enemies, single match, which lets you play against a computer, of course, and then boss rush, which is kind of a card system boss fighting where each character is really strong, but you also get things to buff your character up to keep things interesting. With all these factors in mind, it seems the developers were intending to create an aggressively accessible fighting game, and it shows. Hard work pays off, and I really like this game so far. I give it 9 pars out of 10.